I'm Bria, and I'm gonna tell you right now, this vlog did not go exactly as I planned. Originally, it was just supposed to be a simple me reading 3 thrillers by Black authors, and while that definitely still happens, a whole bunch of other stuff just kind of happens in this vlog. But the 3 books that I'll be reading for this video, first up we have The Trees by Percival Everett. Last year I read James by Percival Everett, and I really liked the writing style, but I didn't like the story itself. So I decided to pick up another book by that author in hopes that I would have better luck. And then the second book I'll be reading is King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby. This is the newest release by S.A. Cosby. I have read 3 of his other books and absolutely adored every single one. So I went into this one very excited, very hopeful that this would also be one that I absolutely love. And then the third book I'll be reading in this video is The Violin Conspiracy. So this book I had stumbled across on Instagram, and I was like, you know what? I've never really heard anybody talk about this, so let me try it out. And I feel like it was something that I had never really read before, and like kind of like a subgenre of music. So I was definitely excited to get into that. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into the video. I do some traveling in this video. I get to spend some time with family and friends in this video. But I'll also say that my energy levels are definitely kind of up and down in this video a little bit, just because while I had a lot of amazing things happen, there were some not so good things happen. But I wanted to share that because, you know, we're all human, and I feel like you guys have always just showed me so much love in the comments and all of that. So wanted to be a little bit more transparent and open with you guys in this video. I still think that you're gonna have a good time though. Okay, so buckle in. And let's just go ahead and get into Trees by Percival Everett. Y'all, I'm a little over 100 pages into The Trees by Percival Everett, but before we get into that, let's chit chat for a second. Let's catch up, okay? Because I just recently posted this video and it's getting a lot more traction than I thought it would, which is not a problem. I love that, but it's funny because I think I'm so used to getting like a small 300 to 400 views on each of my videos. You know, we were a little tight-knit community over here, and now that there's, you know, over 9,000 people that are watching this video, I was like, oh my God, I'm being perceived. Obviously, I'm putting myself on the internet, and the hopes is that more people find and enjoy my videos. I don't know, but that just hit me like kind of suddenly. But I will say that everybody in the comments has been so nice. I just really love the booktube community. Like, I just love positive vibes, okay? So I just want to share that and just say that if you are new here, or if you have been rocking with me for a little while, just know that I love you down bad, okay? I'm glad that you're here. But The Trees by Percival Everett, this is a thriller that follows 2 cops as they are tasked to figure out this mystery that's happening in a small town in Mississippi. And so what's happening is these white men keep coming up brutally murdered. Not only are these men found at these crime scenes, but also a black man that resembles Emmett Till is also at these crime scenes, and he's clearly dead. But there's some mystery going on because the body that resembles Emmett Till just keeps missing. Like, they keep taking him to the morgue and he just be disappearing, and then he pops up again at the next new dead body. And I'm like, okay, I think I know what's going on here. And I've learned about myself in the past year or so that I absolutely love when history is woven into other genres. So when history is woven into thrillers, when it's woven into horror or even sci-fi, I've just learned that like that's my jam. That is just where I thrive, okay? And so I'm so glad that I picked this up. And I think the writing style of this is phenomenal. There have been moments where I've laughed a bit, and I think because my family is originally from Mississippi, there's just like a lot of nuance in here that I just immediately picked up on, and some of like the humor that I'm picking up on. But I'll also say it's funny because as I was starting the book, some of the language that was being used by these white characters, I was like, what century are we in? What time period are we in? Because it feels like it's in the early 1900s, you know what I mean? But I also just had the thought like, but it's also Mississippi. So it could be set in present day, because I always tell people Mississippi is set like 50 years in the past. And it's funny because we do get orientated into what time frame this is taking place in, and they literally say like Mississippi is a century behind. And so I just really kind of loved that little aspect of it. I will say there's a lot of N words with a hard ER, okay? So be warned about that, but I think it makes sense for the context of this book for sure. And the way this book is written, it's reminding me of like a show, which I think is helping me like get through this so quickly. And the specific show that I'm thinking about that it reminds me of is True Detective. Like, this book could be made into a season of that show. Like, just the way that the banter is between the two detectives in here, the way that they're navigating not only the case, but these outside factors of having to go into this really racist community and try to figure out what's going on. So overall, I'm enjoying it. Like I said, I'm only 100 pages in. It's not a long book by any means. It's almost right at 300 pages, a little over. So excited to continue reading that. And it is currently a Friday, and my mom is about 10 minutes away from being in town. Let me tell you, that is my girl. So I'm so excited that I get to hang out with her a little bit this weekend. We are actually going to a baby shower for one of my friends that I have probably known the longest in my life. We've known each other since we were like 4 years old, and she's having a baby. So we are going to go visit her. We are flying / taking the Von Lane bus. And if you haven't heard about the Von Lane, it is actually just like a luxury bus, because we are traveling in state, but we don't like driving, so we're not driving. So I will keep you guys updated on my reading, but let's go on a little adventure.
Your tongue somewhere, don't know what to say. Stop and run around, oh, you act like a kid. I am not your mama, just admit what you did. I got enough to do, then hang around and wait for you to grow up and be responsible. It's my
Y'all, it has been a week, okay? So as you guys saw, I did make it to Houston for my friend's baby shower. I just love that I have so many friendships that have spanned almost my entire life, or at least like my formative years. And the friend that I saw, like, just no matter how much time passes, like, we're essentially sisters and family now because we've just known each other so long. But also, like, even though we're in our 30s, I was like, girl, oh my God, not a teenage pregnancy. But it's obviously a joke because we're old enough to have kids and she's married and stuff, but it's like, we just still feel like very young. I had a good time at the baby shower, but things went a little sideways the next day because me and my mom were planning on going to get some lunch and just hanging out once we got back. And we get in the car and she's like, oh, my eyes are starting to hurt. Long story short, I had to drive her car back to her town, which is like 2.5 hours away, because she ended up having like a major eye infection and like started to lose her vision a little bit. And don't worry, she is doing fine now, but it kind of just had my mental kind of all over the place. I ended up having to take off work on Monday to drive her back home, and it's been a busy week at work. La-di-da-di-da. It's just been a week, okay? But I'm finally feeling like myself again, kind of getting back into the swing of things. But with all of that bus riding and stuff, I was able to finish The Trees by Percival Everett. And let me tell y'all, this took a turn that I was not expecting, but in the best way. This ended up being so much more than what I thought it was just from the back of the book. There were certain things that happened in here that I was like, oh my God. this is up my alley. Like, it's said to be a thriller, but then you start to feel like, is it kind of sci-fi? And then you kind of figure out what's actually going on, and you're like, oh my gosh, is this a masterpiece or what? But I also just felt very connected to this book because I think I mentioned before that this is set in Mississippi, and my family's from Mississippi, and I was actually talking to my mom about this, how it's set in Money, Mississippi, and I was recommending the book to her, but then she was also like, well, I don't know if I want to read it because it may be a little triggering for me, because Money, Mississippi isn't that far from where my family grew up, and my grandma was alive when Emmett Till was murdered, and she was like in her 20s or 30s, and they lived like an hour and a half away from Money. So she was like, it may be a little triggering, but I feel like after you get past a certain point in the stories, it kind of just goes off the hinges, so I think it's okay. And this is very, very small, but there is a mention of a Pekingese in this book, which is a dog, and my soul dog was a Pekingese Barrington, so I feel like it's just not a dog breed that gets mentioned a lot, so I just really love that that was that little small nod in there. But then also, Percival Everett is low-key a troll, okay? I just imagine him writing this book, and some of the names that he came up with, I just know he was sitting at his desk giggling, okay? Because let me read some of these names off for you. And this isn't even the span of it, okay? But I had to start writing some of them down because I was like, you're joking. So we have Helvetica Quip. And there's even a joke about her husband's last name being New, and she didn't want to be compared to a font. Like, girl, you don't need New after Helvetica for people to associate you with a font. And then we have Wesley Snipes. And obviously it's not the Wesley Snipes we're thinking about. Someone just named their kid Wesley Snipes just cuz. And then we have McDonald, Pick L. Dill. Mr. Everett, be so fucking for real. And then we also have Carl Winslow. Like, he's so unserious, and I liked it. Like, I was giggling throughout the entire story, and not only through the names, but our two main characters, they have this sense of humor that I think is so unique to Black people when they're in uncomfortable situations. We do get some additional characters woven throughout the story, which I really enjoyed. But I think one of the main reasons I really enjoyed this book was because it really talks about the history of lynchings in the United States, not only Black people, but then with other people of color as well, specifically Asian people. And it was something that like just was kind of lost on me, I think, before reading this book. Like, I think for me, I guess maybe just being Black, that like when I think about lynchings and when I think about, you know, racist acts of violence, I always put Black people at the forefront of that. But seeing how Asian people's stories were so closely intertwined with Black people's stories in here really just gave me another perspective. Because in this book, there's a character that essentially has kept track of like every single lynching that's happened since 1913. And there is just something to reading all of those names, and the fact that some of those people didn't even have names, like they weren't recognized or claimed by anybody. I think this is just the epitome of like the type of books that I love, where history is interwoven into other genres. And I just love that this book kind of just went off the hinges, but at the same time really had something important to say. There was comedy interwoven. Like, this really just was a masterpiece. The writing style I absolutely loved, and I'm really glad that I decided to pick something up by Percival Everett. And I will say this was a book that was actually recommended to me by my local bookseller. I was kind of just browsing the shelves and I picked it up. I wasn't quite sure I'd recognize the author, but he was like, hey, if you liked James, even if you didn't like James, you should pick this up. And he kind of gave me a little synopsis, and so I'm very grateful to my local bookseller and that I was able to pick this up. But speaking of local booksellers, we're gonna go pick up my next read, which is King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby. I did pre-order it from my local bookstore, so we're gonna go pick that up. We are also gonna meet a friend for coffee. I'm gonna try to get some work done, but also before we do that, I actually did start Down the River Unto the Sea by Walter Mosley, and I think I still want to read it, but I read like the first chapter and it low-key started to put me in a reading slump, because within the first chapter and a half, 2 chapters, this book opens up essentially with our main character being framed by a witness, but he's framed by her because he sleeps with her and he cheats on his wife. And we are just kind of glazed over it, like he is living his life like he didn't just cheat on his wife and then he ends up getting framed. And I'm like, don't tell me I'm supposed to have empathy for this man. Because, So I was like, you know what? Let me put this down for a second and pick something else up while my mind frame can take it. So we're gonna go pick up King of Ashes and maybe come back to that later. So I'm about 25 pages into King of Ashes, and I don't know what is up with these authors and just how they're throwing us into these books. But within these first 25 pages, we learn about our main character, and he's kind of high up. He's connected to the music industry, but we learn very quickly that he's into... It starts with the letter B, and then there's some other letters of the alphabet that are connected to that. And we learned that he has some mommy issues, which is why he likes to do that. And I'm just like, okay, so we're just really getting locked in with this character really quickly, okay? But we're introduced to him as he gets a phone call from his sister that says, hey, like, our dad is in the hospital, he's in a coma, you need to come home. And kind of where King of Ashes comes from, we learned that in the very, like, early stages of the book, is that his family actually owns a crematorium, and so his dad is kind of known as the King of Ashes. So we're starting to learn the family dynamic a little bit. We learn that he has a sister that is kind of in charge of the family business, and then there's a younger brother we haven't yet been introduced to, and then our main character, we're gonna see kind of how this falls. So I'm interested to see just kind of like where this story goes, because we were already just thrown in to the deep edge, so we'll see. But I am headed to the airport actually, because I am going to Seattle for the weekend. Me and a couple of friends are going to Seattle, but then also like the mountains in Seattle. If you watch one of my previous vlogs, my friend Megan, she used to live in Dallas, but now she's in Seattle, so a group of us are going to visit her, and I'm just excited for a girls' weekend, just to kiki, just to ha-ha, just to have a good time, you know? So I'll take you guys along on that, because I am going to get some reading done. So let's get on the plane.
I love a strawberry side on the side next to you. No wasting time, can you tell me the truth? I'm feeling you, yeah, I'm feeling you. Oh, oh, be honest, tell me what's on your mind. Oh, baby, when I lay my eyes on you from afar, I could swear I thought you fell from the stars. Think about you day and night, girl, even when you're not around. I don't want it if it's not with you. Hey, I'm just keeping it straight, cause you got me feeling distracted. Let me show you the way, girl, I don't take it for granted. Why can't we just give it a go? Infatuated more than you know. I want you near with the same point of view. I'm always ready, so call me over. We're meant to be like the sun and the moon. I just want you to know I love a strawberry side on the side next to you. No wasting time, can you tell me the truth? I'm feeling you, yeah, I'm feeling you. Oh, oh, be honest, tell me what, honest, tell me why. I love a strawberry side on the side next to you. No wasting time, can you tell me the truth? I'm feeling you, yeah, I'm feeling you. Oh, oh, be honest, tell me what's on your mind. I'ma say everything, you got me hypnotized.
So it's been a while since my face has seen this camera. It's literally been about 2 or 3 weeks, and I haven't read like a single thing. Like I haven't finished a single book in those 2 weeks. I showed you guys that I had started King of Ashes when I had went on my Seattle trip. However, I didn't read a single word on that trip. I'm one of those people, I don't know why I continuously bring books on trips knowing I'm not gonna read. And I feel like after that, I kind of just got into a reading slump. I think it's mostly just life stuff, but partially it's this book. Yeah, life has just been Y'all, life has been lifing, okay? And I'm not even gonna get into it, but I would love, like, if you could just leave down below in the comments something good that has happened to you, a loved one, someone that you know recently. Like, I really just need to hear some good stuff happening right now, you know? But I also feel like I'm going to get back into a regular schedule. Let me tell you guys. Love Island has been taking over my brain. It has messed up my entire schedule. Listen, Team Nicolandria. Okay, I think if you're a romance reader, really a reader at all, you could pick up on cues between those two. I've been a Nicolandria fan since day one, and I will be a Nicolandria fan till the day that I die. And while you guys wouldn't have known that it's been weeks, I have, so I just wanted to give a little life update. But I did read a bit more of King of Ashes. I think I'm about 100-ish pages in at this point, and I think part of the reason that this didn't help the reading slump that I was already in is because I feel like this is pretty dark, but in a way that I don't know if I'm completely enjoying. And so our main character, he essentially helps people manage their monies. And so when he gets called back to visit his dad because something has happened to his dad, we start to figure out what happened and why it happened to his father, and it involves his brother. His brother is just so frustrating, but I also feel like it's very accurate to depict like when you have really tough family dynamics, especially if someone struggles with addiction of any sort, and how that can get them into some sticky predicaments. And he is trying to help his brother get out of this predicament, but the predicament deals with this like really notorious gang. And so now our main character is roped into it because essentially he doesn't want to see his brother murdered. And I'm like, is this book too real for me? One thing about S.A. Cosby, he does not shy away from violence in his stories. Like, it's not really a fade to black. Like, you know exactly how this person is dying, how this person is getting beat up. Like, all the details are in here, okay? I do respect that about his books, but I think because the premise of this is really just like around them trying to get out of this debt that they owe to a gang, is just not gripping me like some of his other stories. I'm only 100 pages in, so there definitely is still a lot of space for this story to take a different turn. I'm listening to it on audio at this point to kind of help me get through it because I do want to move on to something else fairly soon. This whole video has just been me going on trips back and forth because this video has spanned over about like a month and a half at this point. But I'm about to get back on the Von Lane to go to Austin because it's one of my best friend's birthdays and we're gonna go celebrate her. She's having like a little dinner and we're gonna go out, I think. And I'm so excited to be back with my besties. You know, sometimes you just really need to just be around your friends, you know, and so I'm glad that's happening. But I will take you guys along on that, and let's hope that I can get through this by the end of the weekend. Y'all, after weeks, I've finally finished King of Ashes, but I will just say that I had a fantastic time at my friend's birthday party. I didn't get that much footage because I've been so out of practice of vlogging this past month that I just like completely forgot. I was also in charge of the table setting, so I was just like there on a mission, okay? But it turned out so cute. We had such a good time. The food was phenomenal. Okay, having a 8 or 9 course meal with wine pairings. I love that I have a bougie friend, and if you don't have one, get you one, okay? But King of Ashes, let me just talk about the characters for a second because the brother in here really irks my nerves. Like, essentially the whole reason that this family is in the predicament that they are in is because of the brother. And so almost every time the brother opens his mouth, I just want to sucker punch him so bad because I'm like, you're trying to control things and you're also being selfish at the same time while also expecting your family to fix this situation for you, and it's really just pissing me off. And I can't remember if I mentioned it, but there's also this kind of internal mystery that's happening within the family about what happened to their mother. So their mother was like caught cheating, and then very soon after she disappeared, and so the family thinks that their dad killed her, especially because they own a crematorium. So it's like you know, you can get rid of the body real easily. And we do eventually find out like what actually happened to their mom. But I just feel like that whole situation just felt really fucked up too. But that's what I like about S.A. Cosby, because he does not shy away from these like really hard truths of how some people's family dynamics are. But I will say that this was not my favorite S.A. Cosby. Like when it came to the writing, this felt like kind of amateur for someone that I know has written better books and that has written other books, you know? And so that surprised me. It felt a little repetitive as well. Like I feel like, yes, we understand that our characters were trying to infiltrate this gang, but it felt like we were in some of those same situations over and over and over again until it was finally resolved. And so I just think in book form, the story didn't really do much for me. And so this one was just unfortunately a bit of a miss for me. I do still think it was like solid, and I think a lot of people could enjoy this. I think I would recommend this to people who, if you love like mobster movies, I also feel like if you just like family dynamics, yeah, and you just like dark stuff, you may enjoy this one. I'm giving it a 3.25. Like it was fine, but unfortunately I don't think I'm gonna think much about this book again. But up next, I'm going to be reading The Violin Conspiracy. Essentially, this book is about a man who, he has this really expensive historical violin that is apparently like a family heirloom of some sorts. I think we haven't really found out how he came into this violin quite yet, but we open up the story with finding out that someone has stolen the violin. Okay, he thinks it's a family that's kind of been out for the violin. He also thinks it could possibly be his family because the violin is worth a lot of money. And so I'm really intrigued by this one because it's a story about a stolen violin, you know what I mean? But I'm interested to see like where this goes, because this isn't something that like I feel like I've read before. And so I'm interested to see if there's any type of like Black history that gets woven in, if it goes off the rails at all. I'm just like very intrigued by this one. And so I'm listening to it on audio mostly. But yeah, I feel like I finally have my brain back. So I will read some more of The Violin Conspiracy and I will come back to y'all when I have an update. All right, so I'm a little over 50% of The Violin Conspiracy, and I feel like this is definitely leaning more mystery than thriller. I guess in my opinion, a thriller is gonna have a bit higher stakes, and right now it's just that the violin is missing, although the violin is worth 10 million US dollars, right? Which is a lot for an instrument. But right now in the story, we are really learning about how our main character got the violin, what the conspiracy really is around who actually owns the violin, and just getting some background on how everything came to be leading up to the violin being missing. And it's actually a very intriguing story. I feel like this book is also doing a good job talking through some family dynamics when it comes to money, right? Because this character, he realizes that this old violin that his grandma gave him is worth $10 million. And obviously he tells his family because it was like a family item. However, his grandma did give it to him. So his family's immediately like, we're about to be rich, baby, $10 million. Let's split that. We about to be living good. And he's like, wait a second, I'm not selling this. I'm gonna continue playing on it because playing on it is my dream, so I'm not selling it. And of course, his family has some issues with that. And that's why at the beginning of the book, we are introduced to the idea that maybe someone from his family stole the violin. But then we also meet the family that is claiming that it's their violin. And I already don't like them. Like scary, spooky, ooky white people shit is happening right now, and I don't like that. Like they showed up to his house unannounced being like, I know you want to do the right thing. I know you just want to give us the violin back. And it's like, babes, I'm not about to just hand over a $10 million violin because you said that it's yours. Like, be so for real right now. But something else is starting to come together for me a little bit. Like there is a character that I'm now very suspicious of. So we're gonna see, but I'm intrigued, I'm invested. Okay, so I'm gonna give The Violin Conspiracy, I think like a 3.25, a 3.5. I feel like while I was intrigued to figure out what happened to the violin, I unfortunately could guess what happened to it. And I'm one of those people, I'm usually not good at guessing these things. So the fact that I could guess it, it kind of felt like a layup a little bit. I will also say, like, obviously the character in here, he is a black violinist, which is pretty rare. He's obviously going to experience some prejudice and racism. However, I feel like the talk of racism was a little like heavy-handed in the way that it was done. I feel like we could have gotten the point across without a scene or two happening in there. So that's kind of really like my only critiques. I would say that you would like this book if you are someone who just wants kind of like a, I wouldn't even say a cozy mystery, but that's what it kind of feels like because the stakes are fairly low. But I'd also say if you are a music lover of any sort, then I think you would also appreciate this, because while I'm saying the stakes are low because his violin was taken, obviously that violin meant a lot to the music community and him as the person who's playing the violin. So yeah, if you're into music of any kind, I would say this would be a great book for you to get into. And overall, I'm like super glad that I read it though, because I hadn't ever read kind of like a mystery sort of like this. And I did look up the author, and he is a musician, so he does play the violin. And I'm so sad because I went to his Instagram and I found out that he was actually in my area like a month and a half ago, and as part of his book talk he actually performs, which I just think is phenomenal. But he does have a few other books out. I don't know if I'm gonna check those out quite yet, but again, I'm glad that I read this because I just hadn't read anything like this before. Overall, I feel like my reading in this video wasn't for naught, okay? So Trees by Percival Everett, 5 stars. I think that's definitely gonna be in my top 10 books of the year. That book was so good. I'm still thinking about it, even though at this point I read it like a month and a half ago. And then we had King of Ashes, 3-star. Was kind of disappointed there, unfortunately, because I have really liked S.A. Cosby's works before, but that just kind of felt kind of flat. And then The Violin Conspiracy at 3.25, 3.5. So, you know, overall, not bad books by any means. So glad that I did this video, but I can't lie, I'm so glad that it's coming to an end. I feel like this video was cursed. Okay, like between my mom getting sick and, you know, I mentioned some other stuff was going on. Let's just say that like 2 funerals happened within the time span of this video, and it's just like, man, you just like never know. Hug your loved ones, okay, please. Again, leave down in the comments something good that's happened to you or somebody that you know recently. I need that. I need to read that bad, okay? But the bright spot is I did see my mom this morning. She's doing great. I got to spend some time with her and my stepdad, so that always brings some joy to my heart. And if you made it to the end, oh my gosh, thank you so much. If you made it to the end, just leave a heart emoji because I need some love, okay? I need all the love that I can get right now, and I want to send some love to you too, no matter what you're going through. I'm so happy that you're here. And along with that heart emoji, let me know what was the last book that like disappointed you. And as always, if you made it to the end, you were my absolute favorites, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.